Swain here on 99.1 The Sports Animal. Thank you for being with us. The glass breaks as we kick off this hour. Saying hello to Austin Price of Volquest.com. He joins us each week thanks to Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. Austin, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
Doing very well. What are we doing? Beignets on the bayou, is that what you said, heading into this Saturday? Early kick, 11 a.m. local time there in Baton Rouge. Big week here for Tennessee.
Yeah, breakfast on the bayou, 11 a.m. local time. Big win for Tennessee. I equate it to no matter what political side you're on, whoever the president is or whoever the governor is or whoever, they've always kind of got their, anytime there's a specific an event goes on, they've got their talking points and they've got their kind of spin to it. I always found it funny, like all the people at LSU were irate that there was an 11 a.m. kickoff local time. Yet like 3 hours later, all of the LSU media like, LSU's undefeated in kickoffs before noon and the last X amount of things. Like, it doesn't matter if LSU's beating Mississippi State, a bunch of bad Mississippi State teams, or a decent Florida team, or a Kentucky team before Mark Stoops had them, going like they're going now. You would still rather play at 11 a.m. versus 7 p.m. at LSU. So, it's a huge win for Tennessee. And then when you throw in the fact that Tennessee's a morning practice team, and they're used to getting up and getting going. I mean, I talked to several players last year when we were doing Tennessee Prime that talked about how they love noon kickoffs because they're so used to practicing in the morning. It's just like it feels like a normal Monday through Friday day when you get up and you kick off early. So, I mean, I think this is a big win for Tennessee. And, again, you still have to go out and earn it. You still have to go out there and prove you can get the job done. But I think they at least start – in a good spot come Saturday at lunchtime.
What about that trip to California? That's what I want to know about Austin Price.
my family's trip to Disneyland. You want me to break it down?
Yeah, I want you to break it down, man. Give me all the inside information on the trip to California.
Well, we rode Haunted Mansion Holiday, Swain, and that's an overlay of the Haunted Mansion with Jack Skellington, Nightmare Before Christmas. And,
riveting.
We rode a bunch of other great rides. I got to see Nico play Friday night, and, the kid's got such a quick release. I think that's the biggest thing that stands out to me. I mean, yeah, he can move and make plays, and he's got that unbelievable spin move because he has to do it to spin out of pass rush, half the time because his offensive line's not very good. But, I mean, his ability to get the ball out of his hands and hum it is really, really impressive. So, you can see why so many people are high on him. And, they got a big rivalry game coming up in a couple of weeks against Downey, which is kind of their crosstown rival. And so, you can easily see why everybody clamors for this kid. And, again, he's just got this presence about him. It's nothing that he does like that he seeks out. It's just kind of just how he carries himself and, kind of his look with the long braided hair and just kind of the suave, just kind of has that swag to him that, whether it be, grown-ups or kids or whatever, they all just kind of gravitate towards him.
Off week last week, the coaches traveled all over the country, getting a chance to see players in person. What were some of those trips for the coaches? Who did they go and see? Obviously, some of those guys they went to go see are high-priority players. Who are some of those players?
Well, Brian Jean-Marie, he was down in Georgia, then swung up Friday night to see Arian Carter play, the linebacker from Smyrna that, half the country's dove in hard after. And, he'll visit Tennessee officially coming up here later this fall. He's going to visit USC, Michigan, LSU, Tennessee, Alabama. The one-time Memphis running back commit is now a high-priority target at linebacker for basically anybody and everybody that's good at college football. And, Alex Golesh went and saw Aiden Williams, wide receiver that's committed to Ole Miss. He's from the state of Mississippi. I think, listening to Tennessee, we'll see. again, like Carnell Tate, Aiden Williams, any of those top players, Noah Rogers, wide receivers that Tennessee is talking to, like, for it to become real, they've got to make it to campus. They've made it to campus now. Noah Rogers hasn't made it to campus since last year at this time. So, like, he is the ultimate, like, unicorn out there in my mind in recruiting. But the other two, Williams and Carnell Tate, they've got to make it to campus again, like this fall, for any of that to become real. And if they do, then I think then all of a sudden, that changes the narrative a little bit. But all that's important. Glenn Ellerby's been scouring the country looking for offensive tackles. He went out and saw Lomu, the kid from Arizona. He went out and saw Elijah Page. Now Page has since committed to USC since he was out there. So the Tennessee coaches were out and about seeing a lot of different players last week, including Kelsey Pope, who checked in on Laycock and Noah Rogers over in North Carolina, and then went up and saw a couple of guys in Virginia on Saturday.
Austin Price is with us, Volquest.com, with us every week thanks to Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. Austin, off week over. Tennessee goes to LSU. Biggest question maybe entering this game as Tennessee tries to get to 5-0?
I've called the last couple of games these rung on the ladder games. They climbed the rung for Florida. Can they climb another rung this week? Against LSU, because these are just games Tennessee hasn't won the last 15 years, right? I mean, winning against an Arkansas or winning against, an LSU. They've lost the last 5 in the series, and they still hold the overall series 20-10-3. Winning against A&M, winning against these other teams from the other side that are better than most. So, can they do that against LSU? Now, this isn't the same LSU team that we've seen for the last 15 years defensively, and they're good defensively. It's not like that they're void of talent. They're not. They're just not as deep. And then offensively, they're sure not what they were in their one. They're basically what they have been for the last 15 years offensively. I don't think they have as good a running game. So, it's a game that Tennessee can win. I do think if they start fast like Mississippi State and Auburn and jump out early on LSU's going to have a much more difficult time coming back against Tennessee than they did the other two. But it's an LSU team that's had the never say die attitude, an LSU team that, has continued to fight and scrap and claw and has found a way to win every game but one, and that was that Florida State game. They almost found a way to win that one.
I know the players are fired up about wearing those smoky gray uniforms on the road at LSU. I know with supply chain issues, it hasn't always been easy to get enough helmets, enough jerseys with both alternate uniforms. But AP, any kind of behind the scenes cool notes or nuggets about the process of these guys wearing smoky gray uniforms this weekend?
No, I think the biggest thing is, you're right. It's been slow coming in, and they were always. Everybody thought they were going to wear them from Florida, but they never were. Like, there's been a real push on campus to stick with your major rivalries. And I'm saying Florida, Alabama, those type games. Stay in your traditional orange and whites. If Tennessee gets to a SEC championship game in football or basketball or baseball again. Last year when they wore the blacks of the SEC baseball tournament, I think you'll see them wear orange and white. But in these other games, like the A&Ms, the Arkansas, the LSUs on the road, Pittsburgh, or somebody like that, basically anything is on the table at that point. So the dark mode, the grays, those type of things. And so, with LSU traditionally wearing white at home, this was an opportunity to kind of go with something different. So that's why they're going smoky grays on Saturday.
What do we consider Kentucky in football? Orange or alternate?
Not a rivalry.
There you go.
Kentucky may consider it a rivalry, but when you've won 37-40 or whatever the number is, it's not in the same ilk as Florida and Alabama and Georgia. So I smell what you're cooking, Jason. I smell what you're cooking.
So Kentucky eligible for dark
mode. Dark mode, baby. Let's go.
Week of Halloween. Makes sense, right?
Yes. I'm going.
Swain, did you see we had an orange and black checker kneeling suggestion?
No, I'm good. I'm good on that.
What do you think there, Austin?
I'm good on that.
Well, you know what? I was having lunch with some guys today, and one of the guys suggested, hey man, if Tennessee goes black against Kentucky, what do you think about, going a blackout? And I'm like, if you get everybody on board with that, it makes sense. Whatever. But again, it's probably going to be a night game, which means at the end of October it's going to be cool. People are going to have jackets on.
It's pointless.
Be tough to put together the checker. Yeah.
The results are in. Kentucky, you are not a rival.
Austin, before we say goodbye, do we miss anything? Anything Tennessee fans need to know, either from the recruiting trail or on the field ahead of the game on Saturday?
No, I don't think so. Again, next week will be another big weekend in recruiting with several players coming in town. Tamarion Parker's supposed to be coming to town. You've seen, Sean Davion Bradley's coming in for that game. So, you'll see several prospects back on campus next week. And David Hobbs has indicated he will be back in as an unofficial visitor for that game. We'll see if that happens. I expect a lot of prospects in, a lot of 24s and 25s again. Boo Carter had indicated he would come back in for that game. We'll see if that happens. And, the more you can continue to get these players on your campus, the better chance you have of building momentum and potentially landing them down the line.
Austin joins us every week, so we'll have an updated list next week for visitors planning to come in for a big Alabama weekend. Every week we talk to Austin Price from Volquest, thanks to Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, making it unique, making it special, making it just for you. Rick Terry Jewelry Designs wants to be your jeweler. Go read Austin's work and his colleagues' work at Volquest.com. Safe travels, Austin. We appreciate the time as always, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Sounds good. Appreciate it, guys.